Psychic Soul. I'm Jen, and this, what the heck you got on your shirt over there, girl? And this is Jen sitting across from you. What's that on your shirt?
It says the Cereal Tea Company.
Cereal?
Cereal.
Cereal?
The cereal.
Cereal? Oh, look, it's got the 3 little stars and the moon up above the little mountains that act like, I don't know, maybe whipped cream inside of a teacup. So we're doing another part, another video, another vlog, another podcast for the rest of A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And so, a very interesting book. I like fairy tales, but Jen keeps telling me, oh, this is just tame, this is tame, and it's like, I was like, ooh! It's little naughty! It was making me come up with little lyrics and stuff that I was coming out with my head, off the top of my head when I was reading and listening to certain parts, and yes, it was a very comical, dramatic event for me. But I was really touched and blown away by all of you looking at it. So we would love it if you would subscribe to our channel, share our YouTube videos, and subscribe to our Facebook page, and just leave comments on posts, send us messages. We like to get mail. We like to hear from you. If you read the series, if you read the first book, and we'd like to hear your thoughts on it. So I know I'm sitting here doing all the talking, but I'm like really blown away. But the music list that Jen created for the
will make a lot more sense to you up to a certain point.
Yes, yes, it does. But my favorite song out of the whole thing was the going the mountain
by
song.
Arcana, yeah.
Yes, because I would sing that song just at anything, because to me it's a very powerful song. It builds strength and courage in you, because we don't like it when people bully us or bully our friends or the people we love, and without reading the book and knowing where it was placed in the book. And so, like, when I was getting to that part and I was going, we're going under, Jen would just look at me. Because, yeah, I'm going under. I want to kick your ass. That's what I want to do. I want to go and kick your ass. And yes, this is not an under 18 podcast. This is 18 and over, because I cuss like a sailor.
Well, I have something to say about that.
Yes, what?
Nobody under 18 should even be listening to this anyway, because this book series is not.
Isn't it 20 and over?
It's an NA book series, which is new adult.
Yes.
So yes,
and
you should be over 18.
And new adult means age 20 to 25, because anyone under age 20 to 13 is a teenager. Hence the word teen in the name. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Thank you.
You kept mentioning is tame.
You said it was tame. To me, I'm all red in the face.
But yeah, but if you continue with the series, it's clearly not a YA. I mean, the fact that there's even like a sex scene in it at all means it's not YA. Descriptive.
Right. And so even though I may cuss like a sailor. Oh my God, I can't even. Ethereal, surreal. But I've been cultivating my life for a long period of time, and so that's stuff I do not do. So I am like a little girl when I read parts like that, because I get all red in the face.
Well, I do too.
and I'm like, oh God, no, oh God.
I'm kind of scared, because as we get to book 2, I'm just gonna get with a pillow over my face.
But yet I can write this stuff. I just like,
Well, yeah, it's easier to write.
But you know, I put on a persona when I write, so it's a different story. You know, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna write this for someone to read. You know, but then, you know, people write stuff like that for me to read, and I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, you want me to read what? So yes, so picking up where we ended last time.
Yes, so we covered the first 10 chapters
Right.
of the first podcast, and we were planning on doing it in sections, but we ended up reading the rest of the book. So chapter 11 to the end.
The end is what you're going to get in this episode.
For those of you who didn't listen to the first podcast,
go back and listen.
Well, yeah, you should, but maybe you don't want to. Maybe you're only interested in the last part of the book. So just in case you didn't listen to it, just to kind of give you a little information about ourselves. I have read the series before, and Jen has not.
Exactly.
So
I am pure and innocent.
So just to kind of figure out what was going on in chapter 11, because I don't even remember.
You don't remember?
Oh, look, there's chapter 11.
Oh, there it is. Oh my God, Becky, you don't.
Oh, that's right. That's when she sees what she thinks is her dad. That's come to the manor.
Yep, and she sneaks out to go try to follow him to go to see if he's okay, to maybe follow him home because she thinks he's come to take her home.
Right.
And it's not. It's part of the blight.
Well, it's a fairy.
It's a fairy. Well, I guess I should not get ahead of myself for those who have not read this yet. Because towards the end of the book, you find out that everything that came at them was part of that because she is, or her.
But yeah, Tamlin tells her that it's a fairy in that moment. But I'm trying to remember what fairy it was. This is why
No, I don't know why. This is what happens when we go gung-ho and do...
You'd think I would know. I've read this before.
Exactly.
The problem is that once you get to the later books are longer, and they're way more in depth, so it's like, I'm trying to remember what's goes on in this book is really
So the
difficult.
next time we're only going to do so many chapters at a time.
We're not going to be... There is no way we're going to finish the book 2 all in one weekend.
No.
Even though that book is amazing, and it's my favorite book of all time. But it's not going to happen. So, let's see.
Oh, boy.
Trying to remember what it was.
Oh, boy.
Don't worry about it.
Anyway.
But it was a fairy.
It was a fairy of sorts, but it wasn't anyone from the spring court.
Right.
It
was like a shape-shifting kind of thing.
Yeah.
It kind of changed it to kind of like what the person wants you to see.
Because it reaches your mind. Which was kind of interesting. And then when Tamlin stops her from going, or someone stopped, was it Lucian that stopped her from going? See, I'm so confused now.
That's all right. We're here to jog your memories.
It's because...
Go with what?
Because she didn't quite make it out there. Someone stops her from following it. And I'm trying to remember. It's Tamlin.
Because he was out, how he goes out and he finds those fairies that are, doing all sorts of creepy, crazy...
Yeah, the part of the blight. Yeah.
Yeah. He's, on his way back, and I guess he sees her. And he stops her.
Yeah, it's funny because he has enough power to get them to change them out of what they're in or something like that.
Yeah,
so he goes, look again. And it's like, oh. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
And then...
she starts painting. Okay?
Yes,
she has her little, paint studio, little art studio or whatever.
And she gets all tickled when he says, oh, would you like to see the gallery? And she goes, yeah. There's a gallery? She's all excited. So, and so he takes her out to, I guess, out with, the three of them go out.
They go on a picnic.
They go on a picnic or something.
Meadow or something.
Yeah. And he said, well, it won't be today because he had to have them clean it all up and dust it all up because he closed it off because he didn't want anyone in there. So like in the realm of 12 hours, she got like, 24 hours later, she got like her room with for her art supplies and everything, and the gallery was opened up for her to go in, and she was able to walk in and check it all out, and she just thought everything was so beautiful, and some things, was dark, and she was trying to understand why, what was the story, and when you're reading the book, and then when you're actually listening to the actual book series on tape or whatever it was that we were listening
the dramatization
to.
Yes.
Of it, it brought it to life more so than what you can imagine what's going on when you read it off the page, but to hear the thoughts, and then her backline thoughts like, oh, I don't think I could ever paint this because nothing's so beautiful as this. I could never think about ever painting something like this. These colors are just unreal, and it puts a lot of life in there. And even the stuff that I read, she put a lot of life into writing the book, to lift it off the pages, to give you imagery when you were reading it. But listening to it and the way that we did, it just took it to a whole nother level. And I'm just like amazed how, over the period of time, she started painting. They went on more trips. She went out for rides with them. She sometimes went with Lucian. Sometimes she went with Tamlin. Sometimes all three of them went out. They always had lunch and dinner together. As time was going by, she was being treated more nicely by the fairies that were in the house.
I think they were building up trust between, because in the beginning she didn't trust them, and they really didn't trust her. And they're not really used to being around humans, other species, in a sense.
Both sides, you know. And it was nice to see that develop, the honesty and the sincerity. And Lucian liked to take little jabs at her and pick on her and stuff like that. And then, they, even though they had different names for it, they celebrated certain pagan religion holidays and stuff like that, which
Do you want to talk about the first one, which is Calamne?
Or AKA Beltane?
Technically, it's
so it's sowing your oats night to offer spring a good chance at life surviving, whether it's human life or fairy life or plants, trees, whatever, because it was a celebration of life on Earth, or where in this case in their realm. So
for those of you who don't know what Beltane is an actual real Celtic holiday. And there is a great rite that is performed.
Yes.
Which is mentioned in the book.
A lot of people get married.
Right. It's a celebration of basically reproduction.
Right.
In general, like the energy of reproduction. So like the masculine and feminine energy coming together, which brings out creation, essentially. So it's basically sex.
Right, it is. But it's to continue life.
Right. So. And so what actually happens in the book, as far as the way that the Great Rite is described, is actually true. The male is supposed to be like the hunter, and the woman is like the maiden. And,
right.
And then they end up consummating, that night, and then there's like energy that gets poured out.
Right.
And that's essentially what happens.
And she's not allowed to go. She's human, and the fairy in the fairy area.
She'll get raped or killed or something.
Right. But and it's really funny because you know, Tim, I can't even talk. He tells her she's not allowed to leave, you know, and he even tells her if you have to put a snare in front of your door and whatnot, you don't open your door, you don't come out, you don't do anything. You're not allowed to leave this house. You're not allowed to leave this property. You're not allowed to leave your room. And she doesn't listen because the drum beat is carrying her away. It sings to her. It calls her to come there. And there's a reason behind that. And you find that out as you go along why. You have a hint around that time.
Right.
But it's even funny that when she gets there, because she's weaseled her way there, and she walks into the cave where all the maidens are lined up, and she's still cloaked.
Yeah, she doesn't know what's going on.
She doesn't know that what she's around is all females in this, but she's being drawn to that cave entrance and that cave and to go on down there, and then she meets a couple of or was it like 3 no good little buggers that they want a piece of her in a sense.
You don't really know at that moment what
they are,
what they are, but also what their intentions were exactly.
Right.
You do find out later. I will put that out there.
Yes.
That you will find out what their intentions were.
Yes.
But at the time you don't know. You're just it's kind of ambiguous. They're just kind of like teasing her and saying you know that they're gonna take her or do something to her, but you don't know what.
Right. And then here comes along another fae that she didn't know who he was.
And I have to say this because this is a very famous line among fans of the book series. Is the thought she has, which is she thinks he's the most beautiful fairy she's ever seen.
And when I heard that line, I looked at Jen because we were in the car. I think I was driving at the time. I said, "Oh, this is your favorite one, isn't it?" And she goes, She was like, and I was like, this is the one that looks like a vampire / an elf /
It's a Korean idol.
Korean idol, that's what I did. Because he had this dark jet hair and someone's artwork. And the artwork was beautiful. Oh, Celtic too.
Yeah.
And he had tattoos.
Which you now know is the night court thing.
Right, it's a night. Yeah, so I know that now. And I was like, wow, you know. I said, I'm like, oh, he's a little dark, you know. He looks like a Celtic vampire K-pop idol. There was just something about it.
It's just my type.
Yeah,
my type.
Well, it's kind of both of our types, but that's
but then as you learn more about him, you realize that he's actually very intelligent too.
He's highly intelligent, yeah. But it's funny how the other 3 just scamper right off when he says something.
He must be really scary.
So it's like, whoa, man, that's odd. That's odd that they like took off because you know I still didn't know what he was. I knew that you liked him. I knew you liked his character, and I wasn't 100% because she doesn't want to share nothing with me because she doesn't want to spoil nothing, which is understand. That's a good friend, right? So, and then he's like being funny with her, playing around with her and everything. And was it him that let her back, or what did Lucian?
No, that was Lucian.
Oh, Lucian.
He just basically he kind of saved her, and she knew that.
Right.
He was just kind of like, hey, like he pretended like he knew her because.
Oh yeah, I was looking.
The very first line he says is,
"I've been looking for you."
Yeah, he's like, what is it? There you are. I've been looking all over for you. Something like that.
Yeah. And so, he does save her, and I think Lucian comes upon them, and he walks away or something, because, you know, that
he leads her back.
Yeah.
Because he's like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, so Lucian leads her back because you can't be here, you know, and there's a reason why she can't be there, and And he explains just a little bit to her. Not a lot, not everything, but just a little. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he walks her to a point, and she's like, she doesn't want to go, and he just picks her up and slings her over his shoulders like a sack of potatoes, and off he goes with her and drops her almost on her booty in the house. And he says, you need to stay here. Lock your door. Don't come out. Don't listen to the drums. Don't listen to anything. If you hear anything, do not come out. And it's kind of funny because she
does it for a while.
She does it for a while, and she hears the drums and everything, but she gets hungry.
Yeah.
And so because she's hungry, she's like, oh, I just want to go and get something to eat. So she comes out of her room, not thinking of anybody else. You know, it's a little bit past midnight. She's going to go down in the kitchen and get something to eat. And who does she run into? Tamlin, as he's coming up the steps. Oh, he was so cheeky with her.
But he wasn't himself.
He wasn't quite himself.
Right.
He was a little bit himself, but not quite himself. It started to come off.
He was like possessed by magic.
Yes.
Because
of the night magic.
Because he was participating in the Great Rite.
Right. So he kind of bites her on the neck. Not to break her skin or anything, but to hold her in a place. He talks to her and he tells her how much that he wanted to be with her, but he couldn't find her, so he had to settle for someone else, and she smacks him. And I'm like, okay. And he kind of pushes her back up again and bites her again, and and then she's like, oh, I just want him now. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my god. Oh my god, I'm doing anything here already. I know, I was like, where is this going?
But I think it also has to do with it's like you really want somebody, but at the same time you want them to be themselves.
Right.
So it's almost like he's drunk, even though he's not really.
Right.
So
he's drunk on magic.
Why she's like,
Yeah.
But he also kind of steps away too from.
Yeah, he does, because he's coming out of it, but he's not quite out of it. And because it's supposed to wear off after midnight.
And I also think too that he wasn't as bad as he would have been, because he's already completed the Great Rite at this point.
Right.
And he's basically just going back to his room at this point. So it's kind of like he's not completely possessed at this point. It's kind of already slightly drained out of him.
Yeah, but it's not like he couldn't have rody-do-doed some more if he wanted to.
He could have.
He could have.
That some of the energy's probably left him at this point. Right. Which I could imagine that if we had seen him at the Great Rite, he would have been completely not himself at all.
No. He's probably a woohoo!
That's the thing they didn't describe.
Giddy up, cowboy!
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, he's a wild buck. What can I say? He wants to run amok. But yes, so they play around a little bit, but he leaves a bruise.
Yeah, he does.
On her neck, and so the next day at lunchtime, Lucian sees, she wants to make sure that he sees what she did to his neck, he did to her neck. But Lucian goes, see what you get. And they're both kind of chuckling, and Tam's like, but you know damn well if he could have gotten away with doing something that night, the night before he would have. And it's like, oh, God. They're just being so cheeky with her and so horrible with him. And he's like, okay, it's time for me to go, kind of like attitude. Oh my god. And then see, there's some other things.
Well, there was Midsummer.
Yes, but even before that.
Oh, the pool. He takes her to the pool.
He takes her to the
fairy pool.
Right. And
they go skinny dipping. Well, not really skinny dipping. She has her underwear on, I think.
He kind of removes a bit of her veil that she has on, so she gets.
Yeah, but that's not at the pool, right?
That's not at the pool.
That's
okay,
when
so
they go.
Is that before
the willow? The weeping willow.
Okay, so that's the weeping willow. So, but after the pool, isn't that when Lucian tells her how to catch the cereal?
The cereal?
Mm-hmm. And that when she gets a chicken and...
Yeah, we're probably all out of order at this point,
we're probably sorry. Too. Yeah, because we're like all over the place right now.
We finished the book today, and so it's like...
It's like so much crap in our heads right now.
But yeah, so yeah, there is a part where, you know, she goes to catch the cereal, and Lucian basically tells her without telling her, because he's kind of...
He doesn't tell her the truth.
Because he's, you know, a jokester.
Because he is a jokester. And so she actually catches him. Mm-hmm. And he tells her everything she wants to know. And then there's 3 nasty little buggers.
The Naga.
And the Naga come.
They're these scaly
fairies. Was it 4?
I don't remember.
I don't remember. It's 3 or 4. And she, with her arrow, releases this cereal. Mm-hmm. And he's able to get away. And she kills one of the Naga. And then I guess the other 3 start chasing her. Mm-hmm. And she jumps across the creek, so she only has to worry about the Naga coming after her, not the cereal coming at her. And she does let out a scream.
Because Lucian said that he would be listening
He'd be listening for her. And evidently Tamlin was already looking for these people anyway. So, and that's me tapping on the desk. Sorry, I have a tendency to do that when I'm talking. That or I'm talking with my hands.
So Tamlin saves her.
Tamlin
he kills
saves
the
her.
Naga.
He kills 2 of them, and she kills 2 or something like that.
Yeah, she kills some of them.
Yeah.
And he kills the rest.
And, you know, and she surprises him a lot. How much strength for human has to, one, kill Faye, and then before she comes and lives with him, and then catches a cereal and sets the cereal free, even before saving herself. She sets him free so he can get away. She's being respectful because he gave her the information that she requested.
And that's something that's kind of interesting to talk about too, about Feyre's character. This comes up a lot throughout the series. She tends to self-sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of
she's
example
She's a very caring person. She puts others before herself so many times, whether it's with her own family, with the fairies that she's living around, the fae that she's living around with. There is hidden honesty through the pages until you get to the truth. It's where the truth starts unfolding, because it is patterned out that they don't quite know each other yet. They don't quite trust each other yet. He doesn't trust himself at certain points and times throughout reading the book and listening to it, because, you know, he doesn't have all his strength. He doesn't have all his magic, all his capabilities. But out of all of them, he still is the strongest one.
Right, and that's because he's the High Lord of the Spring Court, which I don't think we've even mentioned yet.
Yes.
Which she finds out from the Suriel.
Yes.
Because the Suriel mentions that he's the High Lord.
Right, he is the High Lord.
Because he never said that to her.
Nope, never told her that. Nope. But he is. He's the High Lord of the Spring Court. But why does that make him still the most powerful one? And which does not tell you that in this book.
You don't know his backstory?
All of them. I don't know his backstory.
Okay. Yeah, I was asking if that's what you were referring to.
Yeah, I would like to. And granted,
we do know a little bit.
Well, we know his dad and his brothers were killed by her, supposedly.
No, they were killed by.
Oh, wait
Reese's
a minute.
Family.
Yes.
Father.
The Night Court. Yeah, Night Court's parent, father, and brothers.
You find out way
later on.
But you don't know exactly
why.
The particulars, what happened. You do know, I mean, and again, you'd have to really be paying attention. I mean, I only really remember this stuff because, again, I have future knowledge of things. But there are hints in the book that, Rhys says in one of the scenes with Tamlin, that, you know, he taught him some fighting. He actually says that. And you'll find out about that later. So that must mean that they must have at least had gotten along at some point.
Yes.
Which when you're reading this book, they clearly don't.
Right.
Okay?
They don't.
So I'm, you don't know exactly why.
Right.
But that's kind of an interesting piece of information, is that, they must have gotten along at some point. Now they don't get along anymore.
Right.
And then you do know that, they have some sort of family conflict, because clearly Rhys's family killed Tamlin's family, but again, we don't know why at this point.
Yeah, so. But it still doesn't explain why he has the most power out of all of the High Lords.
Well, I can tell you how it works. I don't think that's really giving anything away.
Okay.
So it's just like any other kind of monarchy, I guess, like the way that you would think of it. So there's families, right?
Right.
And basically it's like a magic transfer. I mean, you'll learn this, I think, in book 2, but I don't really think I'm giving anything away by saying that.
Uh-huh.
So basically, the High Lord it's almost like they're connected to the court.
Right.
Their energy is connected to the court, and the energy is like within the body of the High Lord.
Uh-huh.
And so what happens is the energy, when the High Lord dies, goes to one of his offspring.
Right.
And then they automatically become the High Lord. Now, there's no specific way to know who
it's
it
going
will go
to,
to,
it. Right.
But it will go to one of the offspring. So it's going to go to somebody. And so we do know that Tamlin doesn't have family. All of his family is dead at this point. Right? So clearly, if he was part of the royal family, and I'm using air quotes because, again, they don't use the word royal, but
right.
But it is technically a monarchy in a sense, right?
Right.
So his father was the High Lord of the Spring Court.
Right.
If he has no other siblings or whatever, the energy transfer is automatically gonna go to him.
Right.
So that's.
But still, that means his dad had to be extremely powerful over everybody else.
Yes, all the High Lords are all very powerful.
But they said, what I'm trying to find out is that even when she goes under the mountain to win Tamlin and the Spring Court back to release them, and on top of that, she's releasing everybody else.
Right. Yes.
So it's not just the Spring Court. She's releasing everyone else. Still, out of all of them, Tamlin still had more power than all of them.
No. But again, this is not something, this is me kind of spoiling it in a way. Rhysand has the most power out of all of them. Which is why...
But in this book, it's saying he does.
No, because actually they mention it. She notices it. She's like, how does Rhysand have so much power when all their power is taken away, right? She mentions that a couple of times. The other High Lords, I mean, you don't see a lot of them in the book 1.
Right.
But like with Tamlin, even Lucian, right? He's still part of he's not a High Lord, but he's still part of, court, right? They have a little bit of magic, right? And there's times where you see Tamlin struggling, right? Like, where he has some magic, but then it's like draining and he can't use it. But then when she's under the mountain, she notices that Rhys is doing all these amazing things. Like he's able to get into people's minds, and he's able to all sorts of stuff, and he doesn't look tired, or he doesn't. And she notices that, and he still has power taken away, just like all the other ones. So you learn, and again, I'm spoiling it a little bit, but you do learn in book 2 that when he gets all of his power back, that he's got the massive amount of power, like insane amount of power.
He's got
he gives
tattoos.
off the whole dark, like
gothic, very dark. Well, hello, David.
Dark gothic vibe, tattoos, and he's very smart.
Well, yeah, he is. Of course, the way he plans the maneuvers and
literally everything I know we're jumping around again.
Yeah,
but like literally everything he does, like you see it more when you. And this is one of the things I really love about this book series, is that once you read it, when you go back to read it, you see all the stuff that you miss. Because there's all these hidden things you don't know about all the characters, and you actually understand why they're doing what they're doing in each moment.
Well, even towards the end of this book, how he was able to help, just the things that he says and does because of the mind control he has, he was able to help her maneuver through things and do things. And I don't want to ruin it for people who haven't read it yet.
Well, I mean, you can, because I mean, if you haven't read this yet and you're listening to this,
yeah,
it's a little ridiculous.
You know, with the tattoo that she has, if it wasn't for the tattoo that she had on him and him, the ability to be able to see what's going on, she wouldn't have known what lever to pull because she can't read.
Right.
So, and then with her crying after that, if it wasn't for him to be able to talk to her via her mind, she wouldn't have been able to stand up. She wouldn't have the strength because he was sending her strength.
Right.
That's a given. And she wouldn't have been able to turn away and walk away from her and walk back to her place. There's other parts prior to that, while she was down under, that, you know, the way he came in and out of her prison cell. You know, if he didn't do what, and didn't have the abilities to do what he could do, he would not have been able to help her. He would talk to her before he would show himself. There's just it made it look like he was a big time manipulator to get his way. But towards the end, when, you know, she goes up the stairs before they leave under the mountain to go back to the night court or the spring court, and he goes, well, I didn't want you to die alone. He's starting to show that, yeah, I might be a turkey butt sometimes and play around sometimes and tease you sometimes, but you showed more guts and more strength than any of us could.
Right.
You were a human and you came for us. You came and stood up for us against someone that was our kind by yourself, and I couldn't let you die alone. You know, that just showed a more softer side of him. And of course he joked it off because that's what he does, you know. He wants to be the cool guy. He doesn't want anyone to know that he's this big old soft teddy bear, because he just doesn't, you know, that's what dark guys are, you know. I know a few.
But I mean, his character, literally everything he does, everything
has a reason.
There is an actual specific reason why he does it, and there are certain things that even in the first book you will not know why. Like, you don't know why he was at the fire night.
Yeah, well,
that's just an example, right?
But he did say, well, it was Tamlin invited everyone from every court to be able to come.
No, he doesn't invite them. It's more like he just leaves the borders open. So it's not like a personal invite or anything.
Right.
It's just anybody can show up. This is free for all.
Right.
But he specifically says that he doesn't want to tell her when he
right.
So you don't even really know why he was even there.
Right.
So,
no.
But I'm just using that as an example.
Why was he there?
I can't tell you, because that's a huge spoiler.
Why was he there?
Once you know why he was there, it'll change. Yeah. So.
Will I hate him or will I love him more?
I'm not gonna tell you. I can't. That's too big of a spoiler. You'll find out in book 2. But that's kind of going forward. That's also another thing to think about too. When you're talking about characters,
right?
Is his character anytime he does anything, there is a specific reason why he is doing what he is doing.
Well, he's the High Lord of the Night Courts. You know, the Night Court's free.
Right.
They're not underneath anyone's control.
No, yeah, he was.
Huh?
Yeah, he was under.
That's what I'm saying. After the end of the story, you know, he's free now. Yeah. They're not underneath anyone's control. The only sad thing is that he doesn't fly just yet. He doesn't have the energy to fly just yet. You know, that's something he has to go to. But slowly seeing how Tamlin and Lucian and Alice, the three of them come to care in their own ways. You start to see, you know, the connections between them, how they care.
Right.
You know, like when Alice is doing her hair and she turns around and she wants to, well, how are your boys? And I'm so sorry to hear that. And because she could say to Alice that I am sorry about that and that's a shame. You know, that was good for Alice because then Alice could open up more. So Alice would start bringing her hot chocolates to drink at night, and it was delicious. And so they spent time, like she would brush her hair and whatever, and she would drink her chocolate. So it's like there was this little things that helped them. And then towards the end of the story, Alice is the one that takes her to the foot of the cave to go under the mountain. And Alice, you know, found her in there because when Freyra comes back, because she knew something was wrong. And that's another thing. So when getting back to where so we're like all over the place.
Yeah, we might as well just talk the way we want.
Yeah,
we're
the part where they were eating dinner and Tamlin stood up because he heard someone coming, and it was your favorite dude. It's Reese. Yeah. And they glamour her to not be seen.
Right, and like
Lucian
stands like, in front of her,
right,
like she's up against the wall.
Yeah, just so they can keep her keep her scent out as well. Yeah. To mask her scent as well. And but Reese saw through that because he saw the plate, he saw the cup, he already knew that she was on their property to begin with because of the rights night. Yeah, he knew. He didn't know that was her.
He was. Yeah, you'll learn this later.
But, okay.
But no.
Well, that's how I took it when I read it.
No, because remember when he shows up, he doesn't know who she is, and she doesn't know who he is, right? He actually doesn't know that she was there.
So he didn't realize that was her at the rite before, because this is after the rite.
He does recognize her in the thing, but he didn't know that she was going to be there when he showed up there.
Right. Okay.
At the manor. When she.
But what's sad is that she gives him a name.
Yes.
And then
it's one of the village girls.
Right, and then when Tamlin finally sends her home because she never told Tamlin that she loved him, which is all she needed to say. Oh. He could have waited the 3 days, but no, he sent her back.
Because he was scared.
He was scared.
He was scared because Reese was working for Amarantha.
Right.
And he now had her name.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that she was there. Mm-hmm. And he was afraid that they were going to come and kill her. Yeah.
So he sent her home to this beautiful house that he had helped her dad and sisters obtain through the gold that he sent, and had her father invest into something and blah blah blah. And she gets there and she finds out that her dad's like, oh, I think I might buy these so and so's property because now that everyone's gone and they can't find the daughter.
They burned the house.
They burned the house down and they took the daughter, and that the property was going to go up for sale. And then he goes, and maybe one of my daughters would like to build a house on it later, right? And she's like, and she looks at her middle sister, not the oldest, but the middle one, Elaine. And Elaine says, you remember, and said the same name, and it's like she knew the name, and it's the look I can imagine on her face. I can't wait for this book to be a TV series. I really can't.
If they ever actually make it into a TV series,
I would be watching it with a pillow.
This series, I think I would pass out.
I will probably pass out, and I will probably watch it in total darkness with a pillow in front of my face. But anyway. But the look, you can imagine the look on her face, like how she puts her, she's like, be quiet for a minute or something like that, because she's processing. She's going, oh my God, I need to get back. And that's when she starts heading back to the Spring Court, because she knew something was wrong. She knew that girl was taken. She knew that it was taken because she gave that name. and she was killed for that purpose. However, I don't think he meant for the family to be killed and the girl to be taken, but that's what that her did, because that's who her is. Well, of course she wants to get rid of her because she wanted Tamlin for herself, and she wanted anyone that had Tamlin's attention to be removed from the situation. Well, she didn't get the girl removed, and then as it goes, as the story continues on there, and she's back, and Alice takes her to the mountain, and she goes in, and then what's that thing that caught her that has wings?
It's the adder.
Adder.
It's this nasty creature.
Snaky like type reptile.
He has wings and stuff.
Yeah, he's probably got a tail too. I could just imagine.
He came to the manor the one time, but she didn't see him because
Tamlin had them glamored.
Yeah, so she just overheard their conversation.
But he wanted her to hear the conversations.
Yes, he did.
And there's a reason why.
Because he was under a curse.
Yes.
Which is also another thing to keep in mind when you continue the series. We've talked about this before. And again, I'm walking a fine line here. But this book is specifically written as a fairy tale.
It is, because, there's no way any mortal would be able to go in and combat immortals.
Right.
You would have to be an immortal and not know it. Raised as a mortal, but not know your immortality in order to do that.
Right.
If you seriously talking writing it. But
everything about this book is written specifically like a fairy tale. Everything that happens in it, the feeling of the book, right? The way it's written, the words that are used, just everything about it. It has the same arc, right? The same arc that a plot that of a fairy tale, and that is deliberately done.
It's Belle going back to save the beast.
There's a couple of things, right? It's Beauty and the Beast. There's a Cinderella elements to it, and there's also Tamlin, which is another. It's technically it's a poem, but it's a myth. It's an old Celtic myth. About a fairy named Tamlin. Different versions of it, different things happen depending upon the version that you are looking at or listening to or reading, whatever. But it's basically Tamlin is a fae, and he gets cursed by the Queen of the Fairies, and
hence her.
Hence
her.
And in order for him to get the curse broken, he has to get a human woman to fall in love with him. Another thing about, depending upon the version of the story that you look at, a stone heart is actually mentioned in it. So that's another.
See, and that's another thing for me. How can someone fall in love if they have a stone heart?
But again, it's that whole fairy tale aspect.
Yeah, I know. That's how you know it's a fairy tale, because if you have a stone heart, you're not going to fall in love with anyone. It's
interesting.
Very interesting, and it makes you wonder, like, what's coming up. What else it is.
Well, this is the thing too, and it's also like my mother read the series, right? And she loved it when she finished it. But I try to warn people, because some people it's kind of abrasive, because if you don't understand what's going on, like if you just pick up this book and don't know anything about anything about the series, you're gonna expect the rest of the series to be written like this. And I always treat this as a prequel book, because it's written so differently. It's kind of that, fairy tales are beautiful and they're great, but they're they're not based in reality, is what I mean, right? Which is not necessarily bad or good, right? I mean, but the series is kind of like showing a contrast, right? It's
with a fairy tale, there's always a happy ending.
Yes, there's always a happy ending, and there is a happy ending in this, right? But the rest of the series is not written like a fairy tale. It's like you have your fairy tale, and then you go boom, right into reality. So everything that happens for the rest of the series is going to be, and obviously, when I say reality, it's a book about fairies and stuff. So obviously, I use that lightly. It's still a fantasy series.
Right.
But everything that happens in it is dealt in a very realistic way. And I'm trying to come up with a way to describe that where it wouldn't give anything away, but it's kind of, I'll pick something in the book and be very vague about it, okay? Trauma, okay?
Mm-hmm.
When characters go through a lot of really, really difficult things,
mm-hmm.
okay? In a fairy tale, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They're probably not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. They're just going to kind of move on to the next thing, or it's going to be this big romantic thing, or whatever's going on, right? Mm-hmm. In reality, what happens when someone has a lot of trauma?
It's actually is part of the story. Right. It's going to show in part of the story. It's going to show you how they cope with it, how they deal with it, what helps them get over it, what helps them move forward. Because trauma is part of that person or that subject's life.
Right. And again, I'm trying to be, and this is just one aspect, right?
Right.
But that's basically the way that the series is written. It's purposely, the first book is purposely written as a fairy tale because the author loved myths and fairy tales.
Right.
And she used it just as a setup, to set up the characters for you.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of also to kind of show you the contrast of this is a fairy tale and this is reality. Okay?
Right.
And so she does it on purpose. So when you already know that going into it, it won't be as like, what in the hell? Like, whoa, reality check here, like.
Yeah.
All the stuff that happens in the first book is really cute and romantic and la 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 la, and it's great, but it's not reality.
Right.
Okay, so all the stuff that happens in the rest of the series are going to be these very adult. All the situations that happen, all the characters that you encounter, you're going to understand all of these characters in a very realistic way, and you're going to understand why they do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what makes the series really, really good. Because all the characters have these really amazing backstories and you understand the characters on a psychological level, which is why I really, really like the series. So,
what I did like about the way it ended, she wins. She stabs her beloved in the heart, and as he's trying to heal, because he self-heals, trying to heal from that, but the healing's slowing, her is attacking the one that he loves. And then the other one gets a part of it because he's trying to help her, and he didn't want her to. He wanted to leave a name for himself. If he was going to die, he wanted to at least attempt to do something.
Right.
So he wanted to fight with her. He didn't want her to die alone. And the whole time between him and her doing this, she's being attacked. He's being attacked because he's counterattacking her.
Right.
And Tamlin's begging her to stop, to let her go, leave her be. I'll do whatever you want. But she's like, be quiet, we'll discuss that later. Because she wanted to kill her, because she loved him enough, Feyre, loved him enough to stab him, to set his people free, and herself free.
Right.
Whether she died or not, but still to set everyone free out from underneath that woman. And she was crushing her, she was killing her slowly, and he finally had enough strength to attack her.
Well, he got his powers back.
Yeah, he got his powers back.
After she answered the riddle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she goes, it's love.
That's why, because she stabs Tamlin and supposedly wins the third task.
Maybe that's why he doesn't no longer have a stone heart.
Yes, so what happens at the end is she wins the third task.
Right.
Amarantha says, "I will release them when I want. I never specified when I would release them, so she doesn't release them. So as he's bleeding, none of the High Lords have their powers.
No.
Right? She's still alive, and Tamlin's not free because she didn't release it.
Right.
So that's why he's still healing, and that's why. So when Rhys attacks her, he doesn't have full power.
No.
Tamlin doesn't have full power.
No, but she's
being beaten and killed, basically.
Right, and as she's going through it and then trying to analyze what the riddle is, and she goes, you even said, she goes, you probably even didn't mean it either when you said that if I answered your riddle, that you wouldn't let them go then either. But the answer is love.
Yeah, right before she dies.
Yeah.
She says it. And as soon as she says it,
everyone got the
no. Tamlin gets his
powers
back, because that the bargain was that if she answered the riddle at any time, it would immediately break. Like the Amarantha didn't have to release it; it would just immediately happen. So as soon as she says the riddle is love, and she dies, Tamlin gets his powers back. His heart is no longer stone, and that's when he kills Amarantha.
Yep.
And then once he kills Amarantha, then all the High Lords get their powers back.
And because this human came to save all of them, even though she had to stab 2 of them, and it killed her to stab 2 of them, she did not want to stab them. It really tortured her to do that. They all gave her a drop of their magic. And made her a high elf. A high fae as well. So that was so cool. And then, of course, Tamlin and her had a good night together. And then she woke up, and then she went up and saw what's-his-face is. And he explained his reasons why he did what he did at that moment, and which was kind of touching. I enjoyed that. He was being honest. He wanted to do something for his people. He wanted to, because he was tired of living underneath her control. Everybody was.
He was just smarter.
Right.
They'll talk more about this later, but they called him her whore, right?
Right.
And that was because he was playing a game. He was trying to. Basically, he was the only one that had he had way more freedom than any of the other High Lords. Right. He could walk in and out of her room, all sorts of stuff. But that's because he tried to make it easier for him.
He was double aging, if you ask me, being a double agent in a sense. So he was manipulating every situation, even with her and with everyone else. I think he was trying to figure out how to get out of this.
He saw an opportunity.
Right. And so, but when they were going home and they were coming out from underneath the mountain, they saw the green grass and everything of the Spring Hill, and then they could hear children's laughter and see another figure. So they see 2 little figures, and they say that, and that's the kids and Alice. Yeah. So, and that's where it ends, And it's such a happy feeling knowing, it's a fairy tale. Right. It has a happy ending. She's got her lover. She's got Lucian. She's got all the Spring Court saved. They're all going back, and she was honored.
Right.
But that doesn't happen. But
in real life.
In real life. So that's part of a fairy tale. But yet they all can carry on with their lives and live their lives without underneath the scrutiny of some crazy ass boo-boo.
Now we do have to mention though that we do know that there is the King of Hybern. So Amarantha was his general. Right. So the King of Hybern, or Hybern is basically a piece of land that's not in Prithian. It's separate. It's like across the water. Right. And a king rules it, and he was basically not a big fan of humans. Right. And Amarantha was his general of his army. She kind of broke off and did her own thing. Because of her sister. Right. Right. What happened with Jurian and her sister. Right. Yeah. So the stuff that she was doing wasn't really. He didn't want her to do that. Right. right? She kind of broke off into her own thing here.
Right.
But even though she is dead,
Mm-hmm.
you still have the King of Hybern, right? So
Right. And to let, it's just Creole, and I do know who she's talking about, because her sister was Fae, and she fell in love with a human, and the human used her sister for as long as he could, and he stabbed her with an ash arrow, or held her down with an ash arrow, and then pretty much manipulated her body and mutilated her body and cut it all up and tortured her and whatnot. And so he got what he deserved. I mean, his eye was encased in a ring, that
he was watching everything that was
everything that was going on.
His soul is like attached to
his soul was attached to the eye, and then he has a finger bone around her neck of his. So that right there just tells me she's also a witch too.
And at the end, you don't know what happened to it. Remember?
Nope, they disappeared.
The eye is missing, and the finger bone is missing.
Yep. So we don't know if I won't know until in book 2 if it shows up in book 2.
Mm-hmm.
Who took it and where it went, or 2, if someone was kind enough to take it and release his soul so he could be at rest, even though he was a fucktwat doing what the fuck he did in the first place. Yeah, that's my word. I created it a while back. I won't tell you why I created the word. But yeah, it's for people that are fucktwats. They're fucking stupid and they act like twats, so they're fucktwats. Anyway. So yeah, he was being a fucktwat. But other than all, the book was really good.
We forgot one thing though.
What? Oh my God, there's so much stuff in this book.
So much,
anyway,
I'm sure we're not going to remember all
We're
of it.
not going to remember it.
But you forgot about the bargain she made with Rhysand.
Oh, yes.
And she has the tattoo up her arm with the eye.
Well, yes. Well, I did talk about that.
We mentioned the tattoo, but we didn't talk
about the bargain.
But
that's because she was dying after her second battle.
She was infected.
She was infected because that worm had all kinds of crap running around, and it had dead people and bones and stuff. So it was a place to, if you would get sick from it. And she fell on top of one of the bones that she had set up and to kill the worm when she had it drop down in. And it got into her left arm, and so she was bleeding profusely, and she was covered completely in the mud and the stench and poop and whatever you want to call it, and it got into the wound. So she had an infection, she had a fever, she was losing her life, and he comes in and sees her because Lucian couldn't come in and help her because he got hurt, and he got 10 or 15 lashes from Tamlin. That's why he couldn't go and save her and heal her, and so she had to make a bargain with this dude. And so he's like, well, if I do this for you, I get you 2 weeks out of every month for the rest of your life. And she goes, 2 weeks? No, I can't do 2 weeks. And he's like, he grabs a hold of her arm and the bone that's in the arm, and it's moving the bone all around. And meanwhile, she's like broken her arm as well, and has a bone poking out as well of it. It was just grotesque, just stuff that I could see in my head listening to this. And I'm thinking, this little scoundrel, he's manipulating her. And she goes, no, you get 1 week a month, and that's all it's going to be. He goes, you drive a hard bargain. Okay, I'll take the 1 week. When he probably wouldn't even done that, but he was just doing it to get to pretty much make Tamlin mad.
But we learn why.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to rile Tamlin up, because Tamlin's the only one that's supposedly gonna be able to kill her. Basically.
Yeah, because if she breaks the spell, he is the only one that would be able to kill her, because their spell wouldn't be broken until she's dead.
Right. And the other reason why he did it, that isn't stated, is that he needed to put the tattoo on her arm.
To help her with the one thing.
Well, to have a connection with her.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he can help her.
Right.
Right. Because even towards the end, as I was listening to it, it was like, he goes, well, I guess I don't know when I'll see you again. And that caught my attention because I was like, wait a minute, you want to see her 1 week out of every month, but you tell her you don't know when you're going to see her again. So that right there tells me he had no need to keep that. He did this for a reason.
Right.
And he was not going to come between Tamlin and her.
You're absolutely right.
So.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All that was just a ploy to get to a specific end.
Yeah. Aw. So I can't wait for book 2. So I don't know how much of this she'll have to clean up.
Oh, I'm sure a lot.
I hope she leaves some of the funny stuff in because I think it's hilarious. Because I mean, I love to entertain people. So if I laugh, I expect other people to laugh, especially if it's funny. If I look silly, I expect people to laugh at me because I look silly. But yeah, this book was very interesting. It was very much a fairy tale. And it was a nice little story. It had a few naughty spots in it, to make you giggle. But yeah, bring on the next book. I don't know when we'll get to it, but bring on the next book. It'll probably be like every other weekend or every other, because we do like 2 a month. So, so we'll like do divination and then
I think
the
we
book.
got like 3 weeks or something.
Yeah, something like that. So you'll see. You'll see this here and there. So because we like to break up the monotony, but this was fun, and listening to it. So much better.
I originally, when I read it,
she read all the books first.
So I belong to a book club, and I read this over a year ago. Actually, more than a year ago now. And it was the first book was the one in the thing. And what was funny is that we were only supposed to read the first book for the book club. And I had a meeting. I read the whole series. And then I showed up to the meeting, and I wasn't the only one. So a lot of people at the book club they all did the same thing. So they all knew. Y'all
were addicted right away. Oh my God, this book, I can't put it down.
Once you get to book 2, like it's amazing. Like I can't really say it, but I base I know everybody has different opinions about like what makes a good book.
Right.
But for me, what separates something to like really, really good, like something that's really, really exceptional, to just like a good book, is how it makes you feel. When you just the things that you experience. And the second book especially, but even the third book and the fourth book, but especially the second book. The second book is my absolute favorite. I was just so moved and just completely touched by it, because it, you just all the things you almost feel like a character in it because you're that attached to what's going on in the story, and I think that's why people when they just keep reading and the whole series, and it's hard for me to talk about it without giving anything away.
Yeah, I get you. I hear you.
But there was a point to what I was saying, and now I don't remember. I was talking about the book club. Oh, and then you were talking about that listening and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So so that's how I originally read it, and I loved it even just without all that stuff. And then what was it? Sometime in the beginning of the year, they released the dramatization of it. Pretty recently, I would say maybe in the last 6 months they started releasing.
Yeah, and you listened to them all again.
No, they haven't. They're not all released.
Oh,
because it takes a long time for them to make them. Because you're talking, every single character has an actor that plays the character throughout the entire series, so it's the same actors that play it.
Right.
And they have the sound effects, they have the music, and it all has to be timed and everything. And so they release them in parts. So you have to wait a month for each part. So they're only up to book 3, part 1.
Oh.
So book 3 has 2 more parts to it, and then they're probably going to do book 4, and then I don't know if they're going to do any of like the novellas or anything like that eventually. But so I still gotta wait probably till the end of the year until I can read all of the dramatizations. But
oh wow,
we'll see. But it really does. I mean, not that I needed it because I loved it even without all of that. But it does really.
And then there's talks of it coming out on Hulu.
Right, and the thing about that though is it was leaked.
Oh.
So what happened is that last year, it got leaked. So it wasn't supposed to be announced.
Ah.
And because it got leaked, they basically kind of had to say, you know, hey, this is what we were doing. But because it was leaked, it's usually when you find out about a TV show, they're already in production already.
Right.
You don't see like how long it takes for something to actually come into being. So it's kind of hard to say when this is going to come out.
Right.
Because nobody was even supposed to know that it even existed. Like they were even planning on doing it.
Oh wow.
So,
oopsie.
Yeah. So it was leaked, and they had to kind of be like, yeah, we're planning it. So they're in the planning stages.
Ah.
But they haven't like officially like announced.
Because it might be 2024 before they come out with it.
Yeah, and especially like obviously you've read the first book now. This is going to be something that it's not just some everyday show. I mean, there's a lot of work that's going to have to go into the show.
I mean, it's probably a lot of work for what they did with having how many actors do that. I mean, we heard Alice, because what's her name spoke for her siblings, I believe.
Huh?
Feyre
Feyre?
spoke for her siblings and her father, didn't she? And
what do you mean speak for?
Like when it was their part to say
they
all had one.
They all have their own actors. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's like.
Even all of the fairies. Like the adder has its own actor.
That's like 15
and the
people
guy with his
that
wings that got ripped off had an actor.
So 16 people just there.
They don't have people playing multiple
voices that I heard just in the first.
And then as you read the series, there's even more.
Yeah.
And they're all consistent. So like if somebody plays a character in one book, they're going to play it in the others.
Wow.
And that's just the audio. When you're filming something, you're talking about costumes. Big. These people have to look like the parts. There's going to be the CGI.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff. So
it's going to be a mass production.
And the book series is very, very popular.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those book series where the casting of it is going to be very, very crucial.
Mm-hmm. Especially getting somebody that's Celtic, vampiric, K-pop-ish looking to play. What's his face?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But really anybody, to be honest.
Well, yeah, anyone because they're all beautiful. Because part of the book, they're all really beautiful to look at.
Right, but you're absolutely right. If they cast somebody wrong for his character, it will suck majorly because he is probably one of the more popular characters in the series. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's going to be. You probably could pull it off, but there's going to be some other characters that you'll meet later in the series that are definitely just as popular as him.
Mm-hmm.
That will be, really important to cast, and obviously her. I mean, she's the main character.
Yeah,
so.
Her and Tamlin and Lucien. Because them three don't go anywhere without each other, so far. I mean,
it'll be interesting to see how they're going to come. I mean, all the High Lords, man. Like,
but it would be awesome to see. But the artwork that I've seen fans do of this is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, and I would like to post.
There's so much fan art.
Yeah, but I'd like to post some of that into.
You just have to be careful, though. If you have not read the series, if you start Googling really anything, you have to remember. The first book is just the prequel, right?
Right.
So a lot of what happens in the rest of the series is not really even mentioned in the first book. So if you Google anything, you're going to be spoiled, like, really badly.
Well, if we put it on our Facebook page, then we'll put it per book then.
Right.
So.
Right. Because I know, I don't know if you guys know what book talk is, but it's basically people talk about books on TikTok. It's a thing that they do. It's called Book Talk.
No.
And this series is actually the most talked about on TikTok. And there have been people who, because I've watched vlogs and things of people on doing TikTok or book talk, I should say, where they already knew, like, they might not have known 100%, but because they've been just looking into it or listening to other people's TikToks, they already knew what was kind of already going to happen in a sense, because it was unavoidable, right? Because if you Google, A Court of Thorns and Roses, even if you Google Feyre, you'll get spoiled. Because you're going to see all these characters that you haven't even met.
And they said something about Feyre. She was named after...
Well, Amarantha says that she was... It's an old fairy
name. Yeah.
Now, there obviously this... Oh, not actually, I'd say obviously, but this book series is not complete. So the author is still writing the book, so there are things I don't know. So that's one of those things where... And there's a lot of fan theories about specific things that happen. And that's kind of one of the things, is that we don't really know much about their ancestry, and we don't know her family, and we don't know, like, anything about her mother. So that's still kind of open-ended. There could be something there. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we don't know, because there's still other books that have to be written that she, it's not a finished series. Like, she's still writing it.
Awesome. Yay! So, yeah.
Yeah, so, sorry.
We appreciate you listening to us banter and talk and discuss.
Check out the music. I forgot about the
music. Oh, yeah.
So, if you...
Going under...
So if you have read the entire book, which is where we ended, we are now up to the last. So if you want to be on the follow us along on the playlist, book 1 ends at Genesis by Ruel.
Ooh.
Okay, so that's kind of where we are. So if you follow it along, you can listen to the entire book 1 in plot order sequence, and it'll end at Genesis.
Cool.
Yep.
I listen to the whole playlist all the time. So.
Yeah, but now it'll probably spoil you because you kind of have an idea.
Kind of.
But now you can listen to the first part of the playlist. Up to Genesis.
Yes. My Genesis. Yeah. It's... I just want the drums. That's all I want. Just give me a set of taiko drums. I'll have a ball. But anything else that we need to discuss before we close this? Because we're like almost at an hour.
But I'm going to edit some of this.
Yeah, but I don't want a lot to edit it.
Unless
we split it into 2.
I've been using music, theme music for the intro. So I wanted to just kind of put a shout out.
Yeah.
It's one of the songs that's in the playlist. But it's an instrumental song that was written specifically for the book series. And it's by Kelsey Woods, and it's called Music Under the Mountain, which is basically that period of time where she's in the cell and this music comes in, and she hears this music, but she doesn't know where it's coming from.
Ah, sweet.
Yeah. So that's what I've been using for the theme music. So it's by Kelsey Woods.
Cool. Sounds great. Awesome. Oh boy, well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you liked A Court of Thorns and Roses, and we hope you look forward to seeing us put out another vlog / podcast for book 2 in this series.
Which is A Court of Mist and Fury.
Yeah, she knows. I don't know. She knows. And I don't know. I can't wait, because this was interesting. This was very interesting, and like I said, listening to it was even more, because I would sit there and close my eyes and I'd be like, imagery, just letting the imagery go on over, and they would say certain things, and I would look at Jenna and I go, oh. No, she's going to kick her butt! Beat her butt! Beat her ass! You going under? And then,
you are so obsessed with going under the mountain.
I love that song though. Thank you for writing it. So, But yeah, so, because that song is like, even builds me up. Like, I use that song when I start to work out. So it's like, I'm going under. Yeah, I'm getting on this treadmill. I'm going to walk. I'm going to lose some weight. Yes, I'm going in for the fight. And I'm going to kick this fat's ass.
Oh my God.
So, you know, I'm cray-cray anyway, so. But yes, I like to have fun. Anyway. Thank you for joining us. Like, share, subscribe, all of the above. Somewhere around here on the video, she'll have that as well. Until next time, I guess the best thing to say is, like, you know.
Yeah, it'll be probably 3 weeks or something. More than that.
So please, stay safe, stay healthy. COVID's still out there. And, you know, life is precious. So tell those that you love them. Take care of yourself so you can be in their lives. Anyway, I'm going to watch you crumble and fall. Yeah, her. Anyway, but thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. I know Jen does too, right?
Yes, I do.
Yep, see? I was right. Until next time. Stay safe, blessed be, take care, auf Wiedersehen, ciao, arrivederci. And if you would like to contact us, you may do so at our email, eclecticsoulpodcast@gmail.com. Our Instagram account is Eclectic Soul Podcast. Our Facebook is eclecticsoul.org. Our YouTube is Eclectic Soul. Jen?
If you want to reach me, my personal website is Music and Mystery. My SoundCloud is the SoundCloud page, the soundcloud.com/Jennifer-Feltman. My Facebook is @Music and Mystery. And my Instagram is @Music and Mystery.
And if you would like to reach me personally, my Facebook is @JustCallMeJinJin. My Instagram is @CallMeJinJin or look for Goddess. And my Twitter is @JenSullivan. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Blessed be.